Bro, the other day I was sitting here in my room, and for the first time in probably 5 or 6 months, I actually felt bored. Like a sense of boredom where it's like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I supposed to do? And rather than pulling my phone out, watching YouTube or Netflix, whatever the fuck a typical teenager would do, that's not even a thought that popped into my mind. I was like, what's something constructive that I can do that's actually going to benefit me in the future? And that's when this video idea hit me. This idea of what am I supposed to do now sort of made me think back to when the question used to be, what am I supposed to do with my life? That was a constant struggle for me every fucking day. Just waking up, going to work. I hated my 9 to 5. And every day I'd listen to these self-help, self-improvement, financial podcasts. And it always just had me thinking like, what the fuck am I going to do with my life? All of these guys are out here on these podcasts talking about how much success they've seen and all of these great things they're doing with their lives. And I'm here as a 16-year-old working my ass off for $12.50 an hour, cunt. And I was actually fucking trying outside of work. And I don't say that lightly. I tried making music, rapping, drop shipping, a clothing brand, pressure washing, window cleaning, selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I tried so many different fucking business models outside of work, and none of them made me achieve even the slightest degree of success. And it was fucking infuriating. Every single time I would think, oh yeah, I'm about to have a massive breakthrough, something would go to shit, and instead of, pushing through it, just getting through the mud, I would quit. So for example, I might be making heaps of sales on the clothing brand that I had, and then I'd get scammed by a Pakistani for like $500, $600. And instead of pushing through that and overcoming that struggle, I'd start a new business. But it is all about trial and error. And I'm glad that I did quit these businesses, because otherwise I wouldn't have found what I actually enjoy doing. Right? It took probably 6 or 7 businesses, side hustles, whatever the fuck you want to call them, for me to actually work out that it was in front of my face all along. Content is what I want to do with my life. It started out with content, and it's going to finish with content. So the first thing I tried for making money, for building, I guess you could say it was a personal brand, was making music online, rapping. I started putting music out on Spotify. Obviously you get money for that, it's on Apple Music. I'll put a link for that in the description if any of you guys want to listen to that. But it started out with content, right? So I was making social media content at first. So that was in April of last year, right? And it wasn't until May of this year that I actually started posting on YouTube. And I remember listening to a podcast with Mr. Beast on it, and he was talking about all this YouTube stuff. And just listening to it, I hadn't even started at this point. Just listening to it, I got fucking fired up. Like it did something in my brain. Like I just got really excited. Like everything he was saying just sounded so cool about all this YouTube stuff. So I was like, fuck, maybe I'll give that a go. And sure enough, it's working out so far. But it's very rare, bro, that the first thing you try is going to be the thing you feel connected to the most. As I say, it's all about trial and error, trying new things and working out what you do and don't like. So, for example, when I started the first thing, which was rapping, this was the first legal side hustle business, whatever you want to call it, right? I started this personal brand rapping. I felt really excited making the music. I really loved listening to the beats and then writing raps over them. I was really shit to begin with, but I did end up getting quite good. And I really enjoyed the whole process of it. But when you're actually trying to work out what you want to do with your life, you need to identify what is the purpose of this? Like, what am I hoping to achieve? Okay, so if you want to make music for the purpose of you just really enjoy it, you love doing it, and you like the money that you get from it, that's fine. But for me, the music, pretty much where it ended was I loved doing it, but it didn't have enough of an impact on the world. So my big thing when it comes to my purpose, this is just for me personally, okay? I want to have an impact on the world. I want to help literally 1 million people change their lives. And I want to do that through content, because I don't believe making music could be the means to do that. Like, Music sure can be helpful for people to cope with their problems, but it's just that, coping. It's not addressing the actual underlying issues. People say, oh, it helps with depression. It helps people escape their sad life of depression. So I didn't feel I was having a big enough impact on the world, so I just left that. But in between all of this, I tried so many fucking businesses, as I mentioned. You just need to try and try and try until you eventually find something that sticks. It's pretty much throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks, because you can never actually know whether or not you enjoy something if you haven't tried it. It's like when you were a kid, you'd look at a certain veggie or a certain food and it'd smell weird and you just wouldn't eat it. You'd say you didn't like it, but you hadn't even tried it. And then later on in life, you ate it for probably the first time and come to find you actually really like that food. And bro, something that you also need to acknowledge is that you need to have a great deal of patience when you are doing this, because I was very impatient when I first started, 15 years old, pretty fucking lazy to begin with. I was very impatient. I wanted quick results. I'd watch all these Andrew Tate shorts, on TikTok, like all this Tate motivation, these dopamine edits. And I would just sit there getting G'd up about how fucking good my life was going to be, talking about I was going to be a millionaire, all this stuff. Sure, all of that stuff's true, but it takes fucking time. You need to be extremely patient in this process. Now, that's another thing. Patience, you don't necessarily have to feel patient, but so long as you are patient, then you will get the result you desire. So I get this instance off of Alex Hormozy, right? He says you don't have to feel patient. Like, you might want the results now, but so long as you understand time will pass anyway and you do the work required and you just keep putting a penny on the scale every day, even when you don't want to, over time, you are going to be considered patient, even though you don't feel patient, if that makes sense. Because you have waited, and then at the end, you will reap the rewards because you waited and you did the work required to get towards that end goal. And oftentimes what you want to do with your life is much more surface level than you think. Like, you don't have to dig deep to try and work it out. I like this thing that Jake Paul says. It's literally, do you have a hobby? All people have a hobby, pretty much. Do that. It's as simple as that. Do that hobby for a living. And people have these limiting beliefs. I'm sure some of you are watching this thinking, oh, I can't do fucking BMX riding for a living. Why the fuck not? Like, who's put that belief in your head? Are there millions of people on YouTube who do BMX riding as a full-time job, who get sponsors, sponsored athletes, they're making ad revenue off of YouTube? Sure, there are. So why can't that be you? Whatever you're doing, I'm sure even if you are the biggest loser and you take drugs and drink all the time, I'm not promoting this whatsoever, but you look at what Nelk have done. A lot of them have turned their lives around now. They don't do a lot of the degenerate things. Kyle looks very healthy now, but their whole brand has been built off of like the whole degenerate drugs and alcohol party scene. So if you want to sit here and tell me that your hobby can't be monetized, I'm going to tell you you're full of shit. You want to tell me that your hobby can't be turned into a career, I'm just going to look you in the eye and tell you you're a fucking idiot cunt. Because if there's people who can literally drink and make fucking millions off of it, put a set of words on a t-shirt and make bands off of it, then I'm sure you can fucking ride motorbikes on the internet or drive cars or whatever and make your bag. All right, so that's just my 2 cents. That's what I think you should do with your life, literally whatever you enjoy. Just go apply everything I just said, promise you'll make good progress. Now, if you did find a good amount of value in this video, you're gonna wanna click that top link in the description there, because that is going to take you to my private school community where I have calls each week with myself where you can ask me literally anything you want about business, self-improvement, finances, the gym, anything you want. Along with that, we have a community of like-minded young individuals such as yourself who are aspiring to become the best versions of themselves. All right, so if that does sound like something that might be of interest, click the link in the description and smack the fuck out of the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Stay grinding, my G.